Development Business Regulatory Department. Although my next question is that Arizona long-term care system, ALTEX, versus the public law, the BIH or the 638. The ALTEC is from the state, the 638, the BIA, and both places the funds are available. Recently, March 12th, that we had our meeting, on chapter regular meeting. At that time, we passed a resolution to support, to keep our ALTEC, our building facility intact in Navajo Mountain, and not to be relocated in different, the service not to be relocated elsewhere in Tuba City. There is one employee, Miss Yazim, Virginia Yazim, I didn't get information. However, at her last response, it sounded like she said that the building itself is on the Arizona side. Navajo Mountain has Utah side, Arizona side. We have 3 counties, Coconino County, Navajo County, and San Juan County. In the Navajo Nation, the Navajo Arizona side, state ALTEC this individual that's employed at Natis on. She does more than intakes. She actually goes out in the field. She goes out to it's like over and above and beyond the sheti. That's how she works. I've seen it. She goes out. The terrain is it's a gorgeous place in Natisan. If you ever been there, if you haven't, visit us someday. It's a gorgeous place, but however, canyons, we have many canyons. It's hard to get to from one to another place. So this individual that's employed in Navajo Mountain, what she does is she goes out to the clients. The clients doesn't go to her. The established client to give with ALTEC. Of course, she does choose the things and the chian the things and the tota things and had all that batrata had no got our elderlies. A coin car it tatara go. Other hashing so ye cat not work. Ashin hashing so she the non has a later, but that's what she does. Of course, that office is needed in Navajo Mountain. The current clients on under ALTEC, thank you. The Tuba City, which was forgive me, I'm originally from New Mexico, so my language might be a little bit different in Navajo. And he Nahata Hosado and he based on the Chiribet Ho, and he kind of had Bata or Nil Atan. This individual, she the worker, ALTEC worker, engineer, Hadi Tao, Okot Onal, so Yalkeon, Naso, Ishi Danes in the Yalti. Chizdaya, Chizatana Chiz, she requests for Chiz. Bunny, but we provide that. That's provided, and it's all through her connection, individual directly connection. Although internet, my understanding was that internet service is weak. It's weak, and that's even in Anle, Tuba City, other operators either that what don't need. But going back to that, there should be a broadband. NTUA has promised to do that. I know that because we released a right away for them last year and done so. But on top, besides that, we do have that. There are other companies, like I said, this telecom that could, if we reached out to them, I'm pretty sure they will help out. The LTEC and the BIA 638 is the way I'm understanding it's a separate entity. Okay, it sounds like LTEC is from the Arizona state of Arizona, Arizona state. That's how I understood it. But at some point, you're as far as monitoring, that's what the Navajo Nation Division Social Service does. Besides the monitoring portion of it, I think this young lady that's working at the Navajo Mountain, she's doing a really good job. Community members, elderly, so yo better hustle. They expect her to be there, and that's the core grassroots. That's how it's operated in our area. The operation of the Altex, the young lady that works with our elderly family. But Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Pino, giving us the insight on some of the aspects of delivering services up in the chapter area, as well as your deep knowledge of what actually occurs in the area. Thank you. Ms. Neswit Gishi and Ms. Regina Yazi, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee. Thank you, Ms. Pino, for the comments that you provided. So I sort of got a little alerted though, when she's indicating that the employee is assisting with food, firewood and whatnot. Those are not the duties and responsibilities of an Altex case manager. So that primarily is not in the scope of work. So I'm concerned about that. But nonetheless, we do have adult in-home care workers. Those are primarily their duties and responsibilities. So we can do follow up in that area. Those are out in the communities. So we don't want to be in violation of our Altex agreement by one Altex worker doing direct services. Again, they're supposed to be doing monitoring, case management of the services that are being provided by the members' provider and not doing the actual assistance. So thank you for the comments and feedback, Ms. Pino.
Thank you. Ms. Neswit Gishi, please understand that when a family or a person is in need, I think a lot of people would agree you can't be out at many miles away from procurement of services to say it's not in my job description. And that's the point that we have to realize. When you're way out in the boonies, in the rural areas, for you as executive director to say that as a way of perhaps disciplining a worker, that doesn't fit well with the committee. Please be understanding. The worker represents the Navajo Nation government at that level. It appears that she's been doing items that make the Navajo Nation look good at in that area. Let me go back to Vice Chair Slater on
Thank you. I guess what I've heard thus far are just statements of fact that we're going to move the individual to the Tuba City office. I want to know why this is being done. What's the data? What's the justification? What's the theory? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Vice Chair Slater, for the question. Again, when we're looking at how to have our resources best meet the needs of the families that we're serving. And this is where, again, we've had discussion about having one person in one office as far as the resources to have internet, a vehicle specific for one area. And so we're looking at it, the entire division. And if we set precedents, you know, that if any employee wishes to have an office in another location, it's going to be conducive to meeting the needs of the entire Navajo Nation. And so we do have as I mentioned earlier, a comprehensive plan regarding our entire infrastructure plan that was completed in, I believe, in November of 2019. And so this is where we're trying to look at all of our offices to have the employees have that support, to have the supervision readily available to coach and mentor the employees. And so that's where we're looking at is the funding part of it and having adequate supervision for all of the employees within the Division of Social Services. And in regards to Chair So's comments regarding discipline, I did not utilize those words. I indicated we'll have to reassess to see what services are being provided and if there's a lack of services, because there's other funding sources such as a 638 adult home care program may have to intervene if that's the additional services that are needed. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair.
Anybody else have additional comments or a question? Honorable Edison Wanika, you have the teleconference floor.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I just got some concerns that was called on what's going on at Annie Wanika's Care Center. Can you tell us a little bit about why it's closed and what's going on over there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and thank you, Delegate Wanika, for that question. So we have had a contract with Ms. Bluehouse, who oversaw the Annie Wanika Life Care Center, aka the Ganado Nursing Home. And so as we were preparing the request for proposal for continued services, which was going to be effective January 1, 2022, we did not get a proposal submitted by Ms. Bluehouse. So when I met with our team to inquire, there was 4 facilities that did not submit a proposal. So I did ask our team, find out why, have a special meeting with Ms. Bluehouse and her team. And so they did reach out, this is in December. And at that time, Ms. Bluehouse determined that they were needing to close down. They didn't have sufficient funding. They were required to get insurance coverages, which is by risk, Navajo Nation risk management. They indicate these are industry standards insurance, which is to protect our families who are receiving services from these outside entities. So they were unable to get continued insurance coverage from a company out in, I believe, Snowflake or Sholo. Because of this pandemic, that insurance company had, I guess, high number of claims that they did not want to offer insurance to Anawanika Life Care Center. So, so Ms. Alta Blue House decided that she wanted to close the facility, and she indicated she was going to close it on January 1st, 2022. At that time, I believe we had 9 individuals in that facility. So we did have to have a meeting with Ms. Blue House that we could not have it closed in that short a period. So we did ask for a 7-day extension so that we could get those elders into alternative placement, which she agreed upon. And then for as far as the contract payment, so they had been paid up to the first, they call it the payments A and B. So they were paid for the first half of December. So they were up to payment from Division of Social Services. And so they have been paid also now for their the last 15 days in December of 2021. So they would just need to submit an invoice for the 7 days of December, because we're looking at extension of the contract to cover that area. So we have been receiving comments as far as the closure of that facility. We're hearing that the employees have not been paid at the Anawanika Life Care Center. We're getting calls from NTUA that they have not paid their utilities. And so we just indicate they have to contact back Ms. Blue House to settle those things, that they have been paid in fully up to December 31st, 2021. And so when we have these contracts with the vendors, they invoice us on a daily rate for the members. And so during this pandemic, they were not at full capacity. They were at half of number of capacity for that facility, and they were not having new admittance of individuals. And so when we have meetings with the independent service providers, I believe there was 11 at our last meeting, might have been in November of 2021. I did inform them that if they have shortfalls, I gave the example of the facility in Chinle, how requests were made direct to council for additional funding. So those are some areas that I had talked to the independent service providers. If they have a shortfall, there's some other areas that they can do. And we did also encourage Ms. Blue House that they could start looking at getting additional funding from the state, but they did not pursue that. So at this point, we do not have any of our elders in that facility. They have been relocated, and it is our hope that they do consider reopening, because that's an area of service that is needed on the Navajo Nation. But it would be up to the Anawanika Life Care Center board and administration to see how they want to move forward with it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there, Honorable Edison Winika, you have the floor for follow-up.
Yes. Ms. Gishi, as far as the buildings, you said, you know, there's a possibility of reopening, because I think the building is in good condition. But I hear that there's really nobody there to care for it. It's starting to be vandalized. I guess they broke a window or something. I guess I heard that there's some vehicles that are still pretty good condition that are sitting there too. And people that are aware of it are afraid that it's going to be vandalized also. I don't know what the plans are. I heard that building belongs to NHA. I don't know if we need to meet with NHA or whatever to do something about that. Thank you.
Ms. Leslie Gishi.
Ms. Gishi, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee, Honorable Delegate Wanika, on that question. The building is owned by Navajo Housing Authority. And prior to Ms. Bluehouse closing the facility, my understanding, she did reach out to NHA to assist with some minor repairs. And so what's there or whatever may be occurring, we have tried to reach out to Ms. Bluehouse or one of her other office managers of the report that you're indicating regarding that the building may have been broken in and vandalized. But we're not getting any response or any communication. So we're hoping that either the board or Ms. Bluehouse follows through with meetings with NHA or to ensure that that building is safe. Our understanding, there was a site visit completed by NHA and they did not see the vandalism, but I don't know. That was just a report that we received. Mr. Chair?
Thank you for that response. Ms. Angelita Benali, based on Honorable Edison Wanika's concerns and questions, could we make contact with NHA? Could be a sidebar meeting regarding the facilities at Toye, and then also perhaps finding another entity to operate the same facility. Those are some thoughts. And regarding the services and the domestic violence, the Navajo Nation operated domestic violence center at Shiprock. Is that closed? Is it still in operation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that question. I will have to defer that to Ms. Regina Yazzie as she oversees the that program. Regina?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The Shiprock shelter is open, it's operating. Within the past 30 days at least, at the least time, there has been a shortage of staff. So with that, the shelter is operating Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Because there are no additional staff to monitor it 24/7 at night, there's nobody available for the evening night shift. So the supervisor, Ms. Sosi, and one other manager there, rather the victim witness case manager is there. They're the two that provide services every day throughout the day. And they have on-call crisis line that they both also monitor. They rotate and monitor throughout the evening and the day and weekends as well. So as soon as we get, I've been working with DPM and getting this one individual hired. So we're just at the verge of getting this person on board. All the information and documentation were submitted. We're just waiting for an approval to bring the person on. So the decision remains with DPM. So once the individual is on board, Ms. Sosi, the supervisor, will be able to do a schedule and move forward with the operations thereon. There are 3 other positions that have to be re-advertised as well. So once the other 3 are done and out there and the positions are then can be filled, interviews can be made and positions be filled as well. So it is open. There are staff there in the building throughout the day, Monday through Friday. There is a crisis line being monitored. Services are being provided to victims and folks who are in need of service such as transportation or advocacy work and referrals and so on. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that's my response. Thank you.
Committee members.
Chair, this is Darlene again. May I have a follow-up?
Go ahead, Ms. Pino.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, members. Thank you, Ms. Neswood, Kishi. We have resolutions. There are some resolutions from the chapter. We're not the only one that is on Navajo Mountain. What are you going to do with our resolutions? Our resolutions just basically states to keep our Altec office open in Navajo Mountain. And then earlier you said it sounded like it's a done deal decision that the office is going to be moved to Tuba City. What can we do to stop you to make that final transfer? Although that building question. If it's vacant, what is your plan are you going to move the building as well? Although the third thing is that Altec is with the state. I know that it sounds like you have an agreement with the state, with the Arizona State Altec. I believe it sounds like they're the ones that would, any discipline that may be happening, they're the ones that will be looking into it. You gotta understand, we all work together. In Navajo Mountain, we were way out there. One way to get into the Navajo areas on the Arizona side. There's one road that goes through there, N16. You got to understand that we all help each other. It don't matter what our job description says. We lend a hand out. If there's a lack of chish, we're going to go out there and do it. We're not going to, go back and say, hey, I wonder if Altec is going to be in agreement with me. No, we don't do that. That's our position. That's my position as a leader. Our young lady, the one that works with the Altec in Navajo Mountain, she might not be under her job description, but we go beyond what the blackened paper says. We go beyond that. If I'm going to go over there and cook for them, I'm going to do that. And if I have Altec ask me, let's go over there, or if I ask Altec, young lady, to help me out, we're going to do that. So it could be elderly. So those are my comment regarding that. But I do have those two questions. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Pino. Thank you, Ms. Pino. I don't know between the committee, we're all nodding in agreement with you. So, Baggy, that's what the leadership and staff do it no matter what, is service to our elders. Ms. Nesbitt Gishi, Ms. Regina Yali.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee. Thank you, Ms. Pino, for your comments. In regards to, yes, if someone is needing assistance, I can assist and do what's necessary. Again, when we're looking at our scope of work and liability, if the employee in the job description is to be providing case management services, and should the individual get injured, then the employee may not be covered for additional work that they're doing. So I understand your advocacy, Ms. Pino, but as a manager, a director, these are some areas that we have to make sure that how can we provide the service and not violate and have individuals potentially be at risk. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Chair, I apologize for the interference. This is Ms. Darlene Pino again. The two questions that I had has not been answered: the building, the resolution. Thank you.
Nesbitt Gishi. Before Ms. Pino, those resolutions, be sure and forward it to our legislative staff, Ms. Angelica Benali.
Sure, I'll do
We
that.
would
Thank you.
appreciate that. Ms. Nesbitt Gishi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Health Education Committee, and thank you, Ms. Pino, for additional clarification on your questions. I will have to consult with our Department of Justice attorney for response in regards to chapter resolutions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have a question from Honorable Vice Chair Slater.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt-Gishi, has your office done a cost-benefit analysis of moving someone from Navajo Mountain to Tuba City?
Ms. Gishi.
Members of the, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you, Honorable Slater, for that question. I did not do a cost analysis, so I can do a follow-up and I will provide a written response. Thank you.
Okay, committee, that basically ends our work session, but I think we would schedule a follow-up work session to get a response on all these outstanding balances. I'd like to ask the committee to schedule a second work session and to hear from OOC, OMB, and the Office of Contracts and Grants regarding the funding balances and what has been returned on some of these funds that were not for direct services. And the question earlier was, have you developed a way to use the oldest monies first rather than the current ones? Perhaps I didn't state it in that manner, but that was the intent of the questions earlier. So with that, committee members.
Sure. Could I ask another question?
Yes, Honorable Vice Chair.
Thanks. Ms. Nesbitt-Gishi, since you haven't completed a cost-benefit analysis, can you hold off on closing the office until that's completed? You know, this is a state program, and you want to be able to go back to the state and say, hey, we did it for X reason, and this is why it's justified. Right now, if I were an auditor, I'd be like, okay, this sounds like conjecture, and we don't know what the cost would be. Have someone traveling consistently from Tuba City to Navajo Mountain and other areas, because I would like to think that Navajo Mountain person also serves some other communities along N16 or up in that area. So that's my request to you. And you also submit to us a job vacancy listing for the division and identify what the plans are for filling positions. You verbally mentioned today, or maybe it was Ms. Yazzie, about plans to hire folks in the Shiprock shelter, and so I think the committee would appreciate that level of detail. And Chair, I guess my question is, if we're going to meet with those entities that have fiscal oversight, should it be a joint meeting with Budget and Finance Committee, joint work session? Because they have power over those programs, they should be more responsive.
Committee members, at the suggestion of Honorable Vice Chair Slater, let's have Ms. Benali make contact with Legislative Advisor Ms. Peggy Nakai to facilitate that joint work session. Because for me, the plan of operation basically ties to the usage of the fund. And all of this, the presentation, what I'm missing is how this plan of operation will make the division more effective and more efficient. That aspect I certainly am missing, and so with that, committee members, if I could have a motion to request the joint work session with BNF, that would be in line before we bring the legislation back to the tables.
Or you can just request it off me.
Okay, let me just, Ms. Benali, Ms. Angelita Benali, just request that by memo. And
Okay.
And probably at Thursday's work session, we'll sit with Legislative Advisor as well as Chair to schedule that particular work session. Thank you.
Okay, on Wednesday, is Wednesday okay to look at when to schedule it?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Yes, at the committee meeting before we adjourn, we'll schedule that second one. I'll make contact with Chairman Henio. With Ayla, so I don't need a motion to adjourn this work session. So we are adjourned at 1:53 p.m. Thank you, committee members.